Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also to our friends at Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB during the championship meet. We appreciate the support of Gulfstream Park. And again, we were talking about it a little earlier, looking forward to our visit to Gulfstream in about a month and a half, 6 weeks down there for the Florida Derby. We will be live for a couple of mornings down there at Gulfstream. It's always a fun trip, and we've been on the sidelines, obviously, with the pandemic situation over the past couple of seasons, but looking forward to getting back on the road again with OTB TV. Florida Derby in a few weeks. So again, thanks to our friends at Gulfstream. Really a nice day of racing today, highlighted by the card at the fairgrounds and the Risen Star, and we'll concentrate a lot on that this morning. But a little bit later on, we will be joined live by our friend Dave Rodman, track announcer down at Laurel, because they have a great stakes card as well too. General George, Barbara Fritchie, the John Campbell, a couple of 3-year-old stakes as well. So a really nice stakes card at Laurel, and we'll talk about that after the bottom of the hour with Dave Rodman. He'll be on live. But we taped a couple interviews yesterday focusing on the fairgrounds. A little bit later on, Joe Kristufek, the paddock commentator down at the fairgrounds, will join us to talk a little bit about various stakes at fairgrounds with just a really, really good fairgrounds card. I mean, tune in this afternoon and enjoy that. And they're going to kick off a little bit earlier, too. Excuse me, 12 o'clock their time. So they'll be in action 1 o'clock our time on a 13-race card, highlighted by the Risen Star a little bit later on the 3-year-old side of things. But it's a great card. The undercard, hit on that a little bit with Joe as well. And so again, Joe Kristufek a little bit later on. But we're going to kick things off. Again, taped this yesterday. Obviously, trainers on these kind of weekends are very busy, but we managed to carve out a few minutes and appreciated the time from Ken McPeek. He has Smile Happy in the Risen Star this afternoon. Come back as a 3-year-old, the 3-year-old debut. Smile Happy had the 2 starts last year, the Maiden Breaker at Keeneland in October, and then followed it up and won the Kentucky Jockey Club in November at Churchill. Classic Causeway ran second there. He followed up winning the stake at Tampa last week. White Abarrio, who was third in the Kentucky Jockey Club, won the Holy Bull a couple of weeks ago at Gulfstream. So the race has really been flattered, and a lot of folks have had Smile Happy on the top of their Derby list, looking forward to his return. Smile Happy wound up at 8-1, the shortest price of the single horses named on last weekend's Kentucky Derby Future Pool. So a lot of folks looking forward to Smile Happy's return, and we got some thoughts from Kenny McPeek, but also heard about Rattle and Roll. If you watched the show last week, we talked to Byron King, who does the Derby Dozen for the Blood Horse. He had Rattle and Roll on top last week of his Derby Dozen. So we got an update on Rattle and Roll from Ken McPeek. Dash Attack, who won the Smarty Jones earlier this year down at Oaklawn. We got an update on that one. And Tis the Bomb. Ken gave us some fun information on where he may be pointed to a little bit later in the springtime. So up next, it is Trainer Ken McPeek. People are looking forward to Saturday afternoon. Risen Star, one of the horses people are really waiting for. Smile Happy, who had the great 2-year-old season last year, makes the 3-year-old debut this afternoon, joined now by his trainer, Ken McPeek. Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to talk to you a little bit about Smile Happy, and then we'll get a couple updates on some of your other nice 3-year-olds as well. But let's start with Smile Happy. And before we get to Saturday afternoon, just go back and talk a little bit about him. We're going to take a look at the stretch run here to the Kentucky Jockey Club last year. Smile Happy will be the number 8 horse getting it done. Subsequently, Classic Causeway has come out and become a nice stakes winner over the past couple of weeks, as has White Abarrio. So they have flattered this performance by Smile Happy. And go back, talk about the 2-year-old season last year, debut effort at Keeneland, and this Kentucky Jockey Club we're looking at. How did you come out of the 2-year-old season feeling about Smile Happy?
You know, he came around a little later in the season, this Colt, and I held him out of the races until Keeneland because I really felt like he wanted 2 turns. And anytime you run young horse 2 turns first time out. It's a bit of an experience, but boy, he handled it. He jumped through that hoop like no problem. And then we at the time also had Rattle and Roll, who had won the Breeders' Futurity the same week as Smile Happy had broken his maiden or thereabouts. And both horses at the time were either headed to Breeders' Cup or the Kentucky Jockey Club. And we decided to sit and wait for the Kentucky Jockey Club for Smile Happy. And then Rattle and Roll came up with a little quarter crack issue and a hind foot that kept him out of the game. But we'll get to him later. But Smile Happy was really impressive in the Kentucky Jockey Club. And, we know we're sitting on dynamite pretty much. And now it's a matter of, I'd like to get 2 races into him before the Kentucky Derby, and this horse in New Orleans was really good timing, and it's just one step of many, hopefully, and I decided just 2 races going into Kentucky would be ideal, and I think that keeps him fresh for even the Preakness and the Belmont, so fingers crossed.
You talked about debuting a 2-turn race, mile and a 16th at Keeneland, and that was a nice victory as well. And as handicappers, we're always thinking, boy, it's tough to debut at 2 turns like that. But he was successful there and then followed that up very nicely in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Did he tout himself right from the beginning before he got to the races?
You know what? We don't hammer on the horses first time out. Typically, I'm probably I like to call myself a progression trainer. I think the first race for me is about 80%, the second's about 90, and the third's 100. But he ran like a really good horse in that first race, and all when we prepare a young horse, we're going to put him in company and keep them together, and you don't want to overmatch, and you don't need to blow the other horse away. You just need to get the work in and make sure the fitness is there, and then save the hard part for the afternoon. And boy, he just does everything easy. Going into the Kentucky Jockey Club, he was breeze mates with Tiz the Bomb, and Tiz the Bomb was already a 3-time stakes winner, and he was holding his own against Tiz the Bomb. Matter of fact, gave him everything he could handle, and you try to match these colts so that they're equals, and those 2 colts were really good workmates. But felt really confident going into the Kentucky Jockey Club. I thought either horse could win. And then, for those who remember, Tiz the Bomb came up with a little leg infection that we had to put him on some antibiotics, and he missed the race. And then, of course, Smile Happy jumps through and wins it easy. So we're just hopeful that he transcends from 2 to 3, and that he improves, and he'll need to. And a lot can happen. So we're not assuming anything. Well,
talk a little bit about it. How he's progressing now into the 3-year-old debut. Pulled up some video of the workout going back a couple of weeks ago. This is February 5th, a nice 59 and change down at Gulfstream. That certainly touts him well for Saturday afternoon. But talk a little bit about the works coming into the race this weekend.
Well, he'll throw a bullet if you need him to. I felt like he had already had a 46 and change bullet work with Tiz the Bomb, and then he came back and I skipped a breeze with him because I felt like I was a little ahead of schedule, and then he the 59 and change. He does that like breaking sticks, no problem. and then I chose to work him by himself for the last one. And this morning he had a nice sweet gallop, which I'm glad to share with you when we hang up if somebody wants to catch it on their cell phone. But this colt's ready, and the timing's good here, and we'll. And I chose this race because it's a 50-point race.
Yeah.
Up to last weekend, they were all 10-point races, and this is a 50. And if he runs second or better, actually, I'll be pleased if he's third or better, because it is just one step of many, and I'm not overly worried about. Does he have to win? No, absolutely not.
Well, you talked about him on the track today. Pulled up from your Twitter feed yesterday. He was on the track Thursday. He was on the track at Fairgrounds. When did he arrive, and how's he taken to New Orleans?
He came over Wednesday. I've got my base of young horses, or horses in general, at Gulfstream, and he's trained at Gulfstream, but I'm fortunate, and I've got a training center in Ocala, which we trucked him from Gulfstream up to Silverleaf Hills Training Center. He trained there for a couple of days, and then he vanned from Silverleaf Hills to Fairgrounds. It's only 8 hours, so that's a pretty easy run from there. And you don't have to extend it from, coming from all the way from South Florida over to New Orleans is a little bit more difficult. But we split it in half, and he had his early breaking and training at Silverleaf Hills, so he was well familiar with the facility, and he's a good traveler. A horse is easy to be around, eats well, and really makes my job pretty easy.
Talk a little bit about your expectations for Saturday. You say you'd be happy to pick up some points, but this wound up to be a salty little edition of the Risen Star. Epicenter, Pioneer of Medina, Zandon in there. What are your thoughts and expectations on Saturday afternoon for Smile Happy?
Well, like I said, if he's third or better, I'll be pleased. Taking horses into these classic races is kind of like climbing Mount Everest. The air gets a lot thinner the higher you go, and not everybody makes it to the top. So we're, I've been down this path before. I was second with Tahana Run. I had really big chance to win it with Repent and Harlan's Holiday, but it didn't happen. And truth is, I've had better fillies in the last 7 or 8 years. It seems like I was getting pigeonholed fillies. I kept telling my wife and my staff, we're due for a good colt year. It's going to happen. And gosh, I think we've got an obnoxious amount of good ones right now. It's almost scary. Yeah,
I mean, we had talked to you up at Saratoga, and obviously that Saratoga season with the quarantine was just so tough for you in your barn. But once you got back down to Churchill in the fall, things really blossomed with a series of nice 2-year-olds. And before we let you go, I wanted to get a little update on some of those. You mentioned them earlier. I was talking last week with one of the pundits who had Rattle and Roll at the top of his Derby list, and we're going to take a look here at the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland from last year. It will be number 6, Rattle and Roll, getting it done. Give us a little update on him. I see he's been working as well, and I think we also have some video of a February 5th workout from Rattle and Roll, but what's the game plan coming up for Rattle and Roll?
Well, this is a really good horse himself. He's a different style horse than Smile Happy. He's more of a setup horse, and I think that he's going to need some pace in front of him for the race to come back to him a little bit. Smile Happy's a little more tactical and can probably lay a little closer and a little more cruising speed. But Rattle and Roll's got a big finish in him, and he really wants more ground and more ground. And at this point, I'm probably going to make his first start of the year in the Fountain of Youth. I think that's a good first race, although I don't think that racetrack's going to be exactly the style of track that he likes. And there's a chance that he could come back in 3 weeks in the Louisiana Derby because it's a mile and 3/16, which gives him a lot more ground to make his run. So, and that could give him two starts himself. And as far as the quarter crack, I mean, he's through all that. That was something that was just a short-term thing, and we ended up having to give him about 45 days to let that thing grow out a little bit. But, really nice horse in his own right.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to hit on just a couple others again before we let you go. I wanted to get update on Dash Attack. Smarty Jones on New Year's Day. We're going to take a look at that. I was really impressed. There were some other 3-year-old races that day and right around that. And I came out of that saying, man, of the weekend, Dash Attack was the one that appealed to me. He's the number 1 horse here, getting it done again New Year's Day at the Smarty Jones. Subsequently was 5th in the Southwest Stakes. But give us the update on Dash Attack.
Well, I don't think we did a very good job preparing him for the Southwest, to be honest. We had some issues with frozen racetracks over there in Hot Springs, and when we missed 3 straight days of training, maybe 4, and then we had very little time. The track wasn't to my satisfaction on the week prior and even the Sunday prior, and we had to work him on Monday. And I think we babied the breeze, and I ran a short horse in the Southwest. It was complicated. But that morning, it was really cold. They didn't put any water on the racetrack because of the freezing temperatures. It warmed up later in the day, and the track was good, but because it hadn't had any moisture in it, it was heavy and slow. And he just got tired. Yeah. I went back immediately after he ran, and he drank a whole bucket of water, and he was huffing and puffing. And I think, in hindsight, of course, you're trying to keep from these horses, they're so fragile. I didn't want to put him on a bad racetrack on Saturday. I thought it was too crusty, and then Sunday I thought I needed another day, and then we didn't work him fast enough on Monday. But anyway, look, he's got a chance to redeem himself, or we've got a chance to redeem ourselves in the Rebel, and we've got one really, really great workout of him. He worked 59.3 last weekend, and then he's got another workout scheduled for tomorrow. And look, he's going to have to improve, and certainly we got to find a whole lot better performance than we got out of him in the Southwest. And Rebel's a good next step, and if he runs well there, he'll punch his ticket to the Arkansas Derby.
Yeah, as I say, I was really impressed. Second start, that win in the Smarty Jones, big field there, so it wouldn't surprise me to see a rebound at all. And Ken, just before we let you go, you've mentioned this one as well, but a little update on Tiz the Bomb. You moved out of the second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf to end the 2-year-old season and tried the dirt with the Holy Bull a couple of weeks back. Ran 7th there. What's the game plan going forward for Tiz the Bomb?
Well, this horse trained really well going into the Holy Bull, but he did not handle the kickback. He's won 3 stakes on the turf, and we figured let's give him a shot on the dirt because there's really not a lot of turf options for 3-year-old colts in the U.S. during the winter. And so he didn't handle the kickback. Had his head in the air the whole way. Never really leveled off. He got warm that day. It was a warm day, but I don't think some say he washed out. Well, I don't think that really was a big factor, but I do think the kickback really upset him, and he didn't handle it well, and that happens. He hadn't had that kind of experience before. When he broke his maiden, he won wire to wire, so he never had any resistance. But the Kentucky Derby, you're going to get a lot of resistance. You're going to have to eat dirt. You're going to have to wiggle through horses. But anyway, so where do we go from here? We're going to probably run him in the Spiral or the Jeff Ruby at Turfway. There's a chance that he could show up in the Battaglia, and I want to try to get maybe a confidence builder back in him. And if he ran in the Battaglia and came back in the Jeff Ruby, he could theoretically get Derby points. But we're not obsessed with the Kentucky Derby with this horse. We are doing you're going to enjoy this, we're doing the pre-nominations for the English 2000 Guineas.
Oh, nice.
The Irish 2000 Guineas, the English Derby, and the Irish Derby. So I don't know if he can make it through all this process. Very good chance we're going to be sending him to Europe, and I've got a team of people already set up to handle him over there, and we've got the noms done. And look, for people that don't know that much about European racing, the 2000 Guineas is an English classic.
Yeah,
it's a stallion maker, and the English Derby obviously is an amazing race at Epsom. And this horse is very, very capable of doing that. I mean, he showed in the Breeders' Cup that he's a world-class turf horse. And I'm really excited about that whole thing, too. I mean, I'm going to get some frequent flyer miles, it looks like. But anyway, it's a really, really fun spring.
Yeah, it's always fun when the American runners go over there to Europe. Do you have the top hat and tails, or you're going to have to rent?
No, I've got a top hat. I mean, I had to give Wesley Ward instructions to how to go over there. I mean, you can ask him yourself. When you first started going to Europe, what'd you do? He said, I called Ken McPeek because he already knew the direction.
Very good. Well, Ken, we wish you a lot of luck. Certainly Saturday afternoon with Smile, Happy, and going. I have to ask you also, because I mentioned it. Were you really smiling the last couple of weekends when Classic Causeway won down at Tampa and White Barrio won in Florida? I mean, that had to put a smile on your face, flattering Smile Happy coming out of that Kentucky Jockey Club, which is proving to be an incredible key race.
Well, look, Brian Lynch is a great friend and great trainer, and that's a really good horse there. I mean, he's certainly fast and he goes far. But I was glad to see Brian win, and the other horse, it was a White Barrio winning at Gulfstream. Well, of course, I ran poorly that day, so I don't know how thrilled I was.
Oh well.
But he did flatter us. But all that's irrelevant. From here on, I think a lot of things can change. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that horse has clean trip and everything goes smooth.
Yeah, as I say, a lot of people looking forward to his return on Saturday after the big 2-year-old season last year. Ken, I know it's a busy weekend, so we absolutely appreciate the time. Good luck Saturday. We'll talk again. Ken McPeek, he has Smile Happy on Saturday, but again, as he said, an embarrassment of riches with the 3-year-olds going forward as well. And Tiz the Bomb may be headed over to Europe. That should be fun also. Appreciate the visit.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
It's another big day for the winter of 2020 down at the fairgrounds, highlighted by the Risen Star. And as always, when there's a big day at the fairgrounds, we like to reach out to our friend Joe Kristufek, the paddock commentator down there at the fairgrounds. Joe, good morning.
Yeah, why wouldn't you, Seth? I think I gave you a $20 wing spot plate.
Hey,
we talked.
You do not have to tout your own, because the first replay I pulled up here, and Brian in the control room can fire it up, because I was not going to let that go by. Going back to the Lecomte when we had you on last time, Joe Kristufek said, you know, the long shot I like in here, and I wrote it down on my PPs. I mentioned it earlier in the day during the afternoon show. He said, I like Call Me Midnight in here as a long shot play. The number 8 horse at 28-1. Nice call, Joe, in the Lecomte.
Yeah. I publicly picked Epicenter, and as far as my wallet goes, we did pretty well with Call Me Midnight beating him, because man, I just wish publicly I would have picked him. I could have been a hero, but at least you guys heard it on your show. Hopefully some of our fans out there took advantage. It was a great race at Lecomte, and if you thought that was a great race, that's like the appetizer for the Risen Star.
Yeah, and let's set up the afternoon. You and I were talking before we went on the air. Nice betting menu as well. It'll be highlighted, obviously, race 13 on Saturday, going off our time here, just about 7 o'clock. Locally, your time, just about 6 o'clock. But it'll be race number 13, the Risen Star. But that'll be also the highlight of a late pick 5 and all stakes pick 5 down at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, it starts with the Stahl Memorial in race number 9, and man, all 5 of these races are extremely contentious. You can have strong opinions, you can spread. This is what pick 5 wagering is all about. $500,000 guaranteed minimum 50-cent wager set. And yeah, certainly, you've had the PPs now for several days. We draw a week in advance, so no excuses. Everybody should be ready out there.
All right, let's jump into it. We'll work our way back from the Risen Star. Grade 2 event, $400,000 up for grabs, a mile and an eighth, 50 points for a Derby prep race. And, man, what a field this pulled up. Papa Cap, we had Mark Cassian last week, and we previewed some of his other runners, and we talked a little Papa Cap. Epicenter, who we just saw in that replay, run a close-up second behind Call Me Midnight. That one, Epicenter, goes out for Steve Asmussen. Power of Medina for Todd Pletcher, shipped over to the fairgrounds last time and won an optional claimer. Zandon, it's going to be fun to see what he does and what Smile Happy does in their 3-year-old debuts, because they both look very good winding up the season. Zandon with the close second in the Remsen to Mo Donegal, and Smile Happy from the Kentucky Jockey Club. I pulled up a replay, and replays, I'm looking for logical contenders or sometimes just a kind of a quirky horse that may be a little bit intriguing. And so for this one, I pulled up Pioneer of Medina. That race back on January 22nd at the fairgrounds. Pioneer of Medina, Todd Pletcher ships over, the number 3 horse here. A nice winner at 7-1 and a much improved performance. Probably has to jump ahead again on Saturday, but I think you'll get the right price to maybe play around a little bit with this one. But what did you see in the Risen Star?
Yeah, well, I talked to Todd Pletcher before the race. He was hoping this would be his Risen Star horse, and it wound up being that way, although the bettors didn't take advantage that day at 7-1. That race was a second slower than the Lecomte. You know, I thought the Lecomte was a legitimate race, and I think the storyline here, Seth, is the horses that are on the grounds, Epicenter, Papa Cap, even Trafalgar adding blinkers, against the horses that are invading. You mentioned Zandon, Smile Happy, who closes the individual, future pools favorites of the horses that were not, all others, and Slow Down Andy. All these horses making their 3-year-old debuts all look great on paper, coming here to face fit horses that are on the grounds. I mean, something's got to give. 5 of the 10 horses in this race were offered in Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool number 3. Smile Happy, super exciting. I saw him win the Kentucky Jockey Club. You mentioned Slow Down Andy from the outside for Doug O'Neill, who won the Louisiana Derby last year. I'm super intrigued by Zandon, not only in this race as my top pick, but moving forward. I absolutely love the Remsen. He got collared by Modonegal, who looked like he was going to go right by, but Zandon really dug in gamely and galloped out in front. And Chad Brown, what is he doing sending a horse to fairgrounds for a Triple Crown prep race? You just don't see that. I talked to him on the phone the other day, talking with the owner. They like the long stretch here at fairgrounds. They like the 9 furlongs. Horse is fit as a fiddle. Could have run in the Holy Bull. So, I think this is a serious racehorse, and I'm excited to see him here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Zandon was on top for me. Jose Ortiz in for the ride. Smile Happy underneath for me. And then I'm going to use Pioneer of Medina in the mix a little bit. What do you make of Epicenter coming out of that second last time?
He ran huge. He did all the dirty work. He went 47 flat to the opening half mile and was still there at the end. And he put away Papa Cap at the top of the stretch, fended off a lot of challenges. But Call Me Midnight just had the momentum and just simply, got in front of him at the wire, although Epicenter galloped out in front. So he's legitimate. He's on the ground. There's not nearly as much speed in the Risen Star on paper as there was in the Lecomte, so I would not be surprised to see him win.
And Joel Rosario, again, in for the ride. This is a really, really nice edition of the Risen Star. A little bit earlier, the 3-year-old girls in the Rachel Alexandra, $300,000 up for grabs, a mile and a 16th. And again, it's another fun field. Lacrete comes in off the win in the Silver Bullet Day for Steve Asmussen. North Country for Brendan Walsh off an undefeated record with buyer figures each start going in the right direction. Divine Huntress for Graham Motion comes out of a nice buyer win at Parks. We'll see how that bodes going down to Fairgrounds. But I pulled up a replay here going back to November 27th. This is the Goldenrod. The winner's going to be number 7, Dream Lith for Robertino Diodoro. This was a much improved performance, and it's going to be interesting to see how she comes out of that at the end of the 2-year-old season and progresses now to the 3-year-old debut. She's really interesting to me. Your thoughts on the Rachel?
Yeah, when you call these trainers, Seth, a lot of times you get the static answers. She needs or he needs to continue in their progression. We'll see where we fit in. It's a tough race. You get a lot of those kinds of answers. But I talked to Robertino on the phone the other day, and he said some interesting things about Dream Lith. He said, we could run in the race at Oaklawn next week and probably be a little bit more fit for that. He told me that he thought she was a work short for this race. And one of the major reasons why he's running here is because he really wants to get stalls at Fairgrounds next year. And that stalls they're tough to come by here. So, he's been on the grounds with this horse all meet. He's probably going to score some brownie points with the racing office by running her here at Fairgrounds, not taking her over to Oaklawn. And I think she's a really nice horse. That Goldenrod was a tough race. And, first time blinker, she ran great. I think she can win, maybe on Saturday. But I think that little bit of inside information that she might even be better, in her next start certainly is worth
Yeah, interesting.
looking into.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm going to be interested to see where the odds shake out in this race, though. The morning line favorite is Hidden Connection. Gets hung outside. I put Dreamlith on top, but the added information is very intriguing now. And I put Hidden Connection underneath. What are your thoughts on Hidden Connection making the 3-year-old debut?
Another one where you can get, some great info just talking to the trainer. I mean, they could have run in the Silver Bullet Day if they wanted to force the issue a little bit, but Brett Calhoun told me, he's like, want to give this horse a little bit more time. We're not in any rush. Running to Rachel Alexandra going a mile in the 16th. According to Clocker, Mike Diliberto, who also does the morning line here, she's trained better than any horse on the grounds for the entirety of the meet. So that tells you a lot from a guy that's got a lot of experience clocking horses. And, Brett was realistic. He said, if we're not going to get the 1 1/8 of the Kentucky Derby moving forward, maybe we've got an 8 Bells horse. So he's keeping his options open. He's not quite so sure she's 9 furlongs at her best. Maybe the 1 turn is better for Hidden Connection. But I see no reason, even from that outside post, that she shouldn't run huge. There's a decent enough run into the first turn going a mile in the 16th. And she's got a lot of talent. I think she's the horse to beat.
Okay, very good. Let's go a little earlier on the card. We'll take a look at the Mine Shaft, which again is another solid stake on the card on Saturday. This one for the handicap division, a mile and a 16th, grade 3 event, $250,000 up for grabs. Again, just another nice field. I've always liked Silver Prospector. Tossed in a little bit of a clunker last time in the 5th season at Oaklawn, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a rebound Saturday afternoon. Miles D comes in for Chad Brown off a season-ending triple-digit Beyer win in a stake at Aqueduct. But the horse I find very intriguing is Olympiad. Up at Saratoga, we witnessed Olympiad running second in that freakish Baby Yoda race. And last time maybe got back to that type of form with a triple-digit Beyer win at Gulfstream. We're going to take a look at that. This is back on January 15th. Olympiad's going to be the number 5 horse in here. Steps out of that with a 101 Beyer. The chart margin is just about 8 lengths in here. And off of that, Olympiad, very intriguing to me on Saturday in the Mine Shaft. What are your thoughts?
I'm super bullish on that horse. I think he could be one of the best horses in training by the end of the year. I think he does everything right. He's got speed. He seems like he has stamina. We'll see going the longer stretch here at Fairgrounds versus a short stretch at Gulfstream. But the way he switches leads perfectly, Seth, and there's really finds some acceleration thereafter. It just visually looks to me like a horse that's only going to get better, that can be one of the better horses in the handicap division moving forward. And you mentioned the other horse I like, Silver Prospector. He was hung way wide in his last start at Oaklawn. He's been training great here at Fairgrounds. He's going to be a price. Silver Prospector is the one I like at 15-1 of the many, offered in that price range. And, mentioning again, talking to Chad Brown about Miles D, he's like, I'm sending Zandon. I might as well send a couple of other horses. He wasn't expecting this race to come up nearly this tough. So, it came up super tough. It came up super wide open. If you're against Olympiad, there's several different ways you can go. And I don't think Olympiad needs to necessarily win this race, but he's my pick to do so.
Yeah, and as I say, he looked really good last time, maybe getting back to that form that was kind of hinted at up at Saratoga. Wanted to touch on one more race before we move on. Not necessarily from a handicapping standpoint, but on big days like this, a lot of I will also toss in another before I get to the stakes race. The undercard is fabulous. There are a couple of maiden races that clearly will have some horses coming out that will turn out to be very important horses going forward. So you guys did a great job because, as I say, there are a couple of maiden races on Saturday that are fabulous.
Yeah, maiden races, first level allowance races. I mean, I think we'll see, maybe the maiden winner going long. There's a couple of those races, and then the allowance race. Those could be Louisiana Derby horses. So Steve Asmussen's got some very intriguing first-time starters that are on the card, and I know that he's super excited about a few of those. So, don't sleep on the early part of the card. I think we've got a good Louisiana-bred race to open things up, first of 13. But like you mentioned, Seth, the maiden races, the allowance races, the 3-year-olds are really in the spotlight in the early portion of this card, and they could be really key races moving forward. So, yeah, I definitely agree. You want to pay attention. 3 pick 5s on the card, lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was leafing through because I knew I just didn't remember which race it was, but it's the second race on Saturday. Sibling to Matoli and Hot Rod Charlie's in there, Indigo Miss, and a sibling to Yaupan for Steve Asmussen called Royal Flower, both first-time starters in the second race. But the other stakes race I wanted to touch on, again, because days like this, sometimes it's not so much about the betting, just about watching performances. And in the 7th race, the Colonel Power, Just Might has been really fun to meet this year. Since arriving at the fairgrounds, 3 for 3 with stakes races. But what is always intriguing is when horses can bounce back and forth and be equally as proficient, turf and dirt. And that's Just Might. And Michelle Lovell, the trainer, having a pretty good meet down there as well.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking disqualification for Just Might last stop. He was much the best, and he faces a lot of the same horses here in a scenario where there's not a lot of speed. He's squarely the horse to beat again. Great attempt. You got to take a look at this horse, Chris Hartman. I don't know how well publicized it is, but this guy's won 10 races in a row on the turf. He's been in an overall hot streak at fairgrounds at Oaklawn, but the last 10 horses he started on the turf, he's won with. And this horse has contributed to that streak. And this horse was on the bad part of the turf course the last time he won off the bench. He's 8-1. Great attempt would be the other horse that I'd look at outside of Just Might. But I really hope Just Might wins because that was a tough DQ last time out. And he's a special horse, and he's really cool. And, obviously with Brilliant, we've had horses with Michelle, so we're always rooting for her.
Yeah, I should have said that. Redemption, the last 3 under the finish line first, but that disqualified after a daylight win. But he's just been so phenomenal since arriving down at the fairgrounds at this meet. So Just Might in the 7th, the Colonel Power. And you mentioned Brilliant Racing, and whenever we have you on, I always like to let you tout some of the Brilliant racing horses that may be coming up. But I checked your Twitter feed for Brilliant Racing, and if folks are interested in the partnership, I always like to point to the website too, brillianthorseracing.com. But I pulled up your Twitter feed yesterday. You guys do a great job on the social media because every time a horse comes up, there's a little graphic that kind of touts the horse and the race. And I was looking at the one that mentioned Steely Danza, and it kind of had a little talk and mentioned that a string of some second-place finishes most recently for Steely Danza, and at one point referred to him as Tony. I'm wondering, is that the barn name for Steely? A little salute to Taxi, perhaps?
Yeah, it's a totally a barn name, and it's an obvious one with the Tony Danza reference. We give all, Kenny Eskinfor, we give all our horses barn names. We just like to have fun with it, Seth, and he ran second again that day. So this horse is going to break his maiden one of these days. 6 seconds now, a couple of them as the odds-on favorite. So we're going to get his maiden broke one of these days. We brought into a really nice horse, Campbell Crush, who was supposed to run here last weekend. Unfortunately, 2 days before the race, he suffered an injury. He's going to miss a little bit of time. I was depressed about it for 3 days, but again, that's the ups and downs of the sport. And I don't know if I told you last time we talked. Yes, it's Ginger's going to have a date with God, I can't think of the horse's name that she's going to. She's going to be bred, and we're going to try to run her in foal. Why can't I think of the name of the horse? That's what happens to you when you when you have weeks like I've had so far this week. But the same sire as the horse that just won a sprinter, the Eclipse Award for best sprinter. Wow, this is just so. McLean's Music.
Oh, there you go.
Terrible. She's going to be bred by McLean's Music, and we're going to try to run her in full, and we're going to sell her in November. So we're excited about that. We'll see how it goes. We've never done anything like that before.
Yeah, you were hinting on that the last time you were on, so that'll be a lot of fun to watch. And again, if folks are interested in partnerships or whatever, swing by brillianthorseracing.com, and you can contact the folks there and learn more about it, because I know a lot of local folks are involved with Brilliant Racing and have a great time doing it. Joe, as always, appreciate the conversation. I know it is a busy week down there with a great Saturday afternoon lined up, so we appreciate the thoughts on the card. We appreciate your time, and we will talk again.
Yeah, and just real quick, Seth, too, I know I said Hidden Connection is the horse to beat in the Rachel, but I also like North County, so pay attention to her. She's undefeated. She's relentless. And I've been here 5 years now, Seth. I think top to bottom, and I'm not exaggerating, this is the best card, top to bottom, that I've been here for in the 5 years I've been at Fairgrounds. Weather should be good. We should be fast. Maybe a little bit of given the turf course with the rain we've had the last couple of days, but it should be perfect conditions for a great card tomorrow. So hopefully make some investments, and hopefully the noses go your way.
Yeah, as I went through the card handicapping, because I'm going to be looking at it during the afternoon show on Saturday, I was, the stakes are fabulous, but then as I say, the undercard is really, really good as well. So, Joe, again, appreciate it. Good luck to you and everybody down at the Fairgrounds, and we'll check in later.
Always a pleasure. Be well.
Appreciate it. Joe Kristufek from the Fairgrounds. I'm Seth Merrow, and as serious horse players, we know that information is critical when placing a bet. With live streaming of more than 30 tracks, race replays, free past performances, and daily picks from professional handicappers, no one gives you more up-to-the-minute information than Capital OTB. Combine that with the best player awards in New York State, and you have everything a serious horse player needs to be successful.
Win more with Capital OTB.
Winning starts here.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotb.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised earlier, we are joined now by our friend Dave Rodman from Laurel Park. Another big day. The winter schedule at Laurel is a lot of fun. Every few weeks there's one of these nice stakes Saturdays, and today some nice graded stakes down there. So I thought we'd reach out to Dave. Dave, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Seth. It's Winter Sprint Fest Day, but it's 41 degrees. So
nice.
we have as you know, on these President's Day weekends, usually we have a snow or cold weather, so that we have ice sculptures out here today, which is our usual. So if you want to see the ice sculptures and you're in the area, I suggest that you come quickly because they might melt a little faster than usual. It's been kind of spring-like, and the temperature's warmer than usual after a real cold snap, but it's nice. A little chilly and windy, too. It's a windy day, I might as well tell you that. The wind's about 20 miles an hour, giving a good tailwind down the backstretch and running into the wind through the stretch, and they're supposed to really pick up this afternoon as well.
And just want to touch on, before we get to today's racing, specifically for folks who haven't been following closely Laurel, I pulled up the Equibase stats. John Robb, Jamie Ness, Claudio Gonzalez, among the top trainers, and Victor Carrasco topping the jocks list. But I brought that up because I pulled up your Twitter feed, and I scrolled down your Twitter feed, and there was a shot of Victor Carrasco getting a haircut.
Yeah, it's kind of an ongoing joke between Victor and myself about haircuts. You know, he's always getting a haircut, and at Calico one day I just said, hey, I just got a haircut. So every time he wins a race, it's a haircut time. He's got money extra to tip the barber. So it's kind of an ongoing thing. Yeah, he likes to look sharp. I don't blame him for looking sharp with the mount he's got this afternoon with Cordmaker. He's been on him like 25 times, and this is his 10th time straight on Cordmaker, his real money maker. He's really, really looking forward to seeing him this afternoon.
Yeah.
And good. And Victor, he works hard like all the riders do, but it's really paying off. He's finally on the top of the standings at Laurel for this meet.
Yeah, as I said, pulled up your Twitter feed and saw the haircut and saw you referenced you, so I knew there was something going on there. But you mentioned Cordmaker. Let's jump right into it. The day will end, and we'll kind of work our ways backwards through some of these stakes. The General George, Grade 3 event, $250,000 up for grabs, and they're going to go 7 furlongs. And some of these races have some logical contenders, certainly, and the General George with the aforementioned Cordmaker is one of those. I'm going to pull up the Jennings, which was run back on January 29th. Cordmaker is going to be the number 4 horse here. Victor Carrasco on board. He was on board for the 2 races prior to this, which were also stakes wins. 10 wins at Laurel and 26 starts down there. Cordmaker has just been a real money maker for the folks down in the Mid-Atlantic region, and he looks pretty good this afternoon in the General George. What are your thoughts?
Well, he's a 7-year-old, and he seems to be getting better and better with age. He's won 3 straight stakes. Prior to that was second but disqualified in the Polynesian. And before that, he won the Victory Gallop. So you look at his stakes record at this age, he keeps firing, and he's firing big. And actually, I think his best race or two has been his last 2. The Jennings win he's showing and the Bob Manfuso going a mile of the 16th. He just toyed with the field of the Manfuso, easing out and kicking away. And then he showed a real good grit of a younger horse in digging down to win by a neck over Angeles Houdini, who was closing on him. When that horse ran up to him, he put his belly down, and he ran hard down to the line to get the win by a neck. So shortening up today in the General George to 7/8 of a mile. The real kind of, scopy kind of horse. We'll see how much speed he's going to have in front of him. He probably won't be on the lead, though he's been on the lead going long. Air Token, I think, maybe a danger to him. He's in good form right now for Jose Corrales. He beat a horse named Baracho, who came back to buy her up with a 95 Big Fig in his next start. Air Token had a good trip going 3/4 of a mile, but I like the fact that Corrales put a good half-mile drill into him since that win. And stepping up after a win into stakes company, he's done this before. Remember a horse called Something Awesome for Corrales a few years ago? He's done the same trick, kind of the same pattern before. So Air Token, I think, is his main danger. He's a solid sprinter. He gives his best. And you got J.D. Acosta aboard, who's going to be close, if not on the lead. I mean, he likes to send, but Air Token's kind of a tractable horse if you need him be as well.
Yeah, and maybe on the cutback you can take a little pop against Cordmaker. He is more of a mile or a 2-turn horse, the 1-turn mile or a 2-turn horse. The 7 furlongs maybe isn't up his alley, but boy, he's just in such good form. What did you make of, on the morning line, the second choice at 3-1, Sir Alfred James? I had some check marks there. There's a triple-digit 3 races back, but boy, the last 2 not so much. But one was turf and one was synthetic. Gets back on the dirt. I didn't know what to make of Sir Alfred James.
Well, he ran 7 days ago at Turfway and really didn't run at all. He finished 9th in a 9-horse field there and didn't pick up his feet at 4-1. But trainer Norm Cash has been the hot hand in Kentucky. He's run here a lot. And he did the same trick, a quick turnaround with a 4-day rest and coming back to win after a dull Turfway performance with a horse named Beverly Park, who's won a lot of races, one of the winningest horses of last year. So the short turnaround and the Turfway Park race, I wouldn't mind at all, turn him around. But his best races just seem to be on synthetic to me, with a big figure in January 1st, New Year's Day, at Turfway. I mean, he's a hard horse to figure.
Yeah.
He may try to go on the lead as well. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If he's got the same speed as he did on the synth, as that transfers, he could be the speed. But Air Token, again, he's tractable. He can sit right off of him. And Cordmaker looking to get another good trip with Carrasco. He's almost a fan favorite. You hate to root against Cordmaker, really, right? Rodney Jenkins and Hillwood Stable, they've been such big supporters of Maryland racing. Shack Queen King is an interesting horse for me, though, too, as well, in the board here. All he needs is maybe a little bit of luck. He's run 3rd, and he's run 2nd behind Cordmaker, going 2 turns. But going at 1 turn today, Jamie Rodriguez seems to get along with him. he's kind of a horse maybe they could sneak in underneath if you're using a horse underneath.
Yeah, he was a horse that shows some promise last year as a 3-year-old and has kind of lived up to it here and there with 10 in the money finishes in 12 starts. So he's a fun race. Go ahead.
Fun race. I mean, you got to use Cord Maker, but I mean, I certainly would use Air Token on the ticket as well.
Yeah, a horse like Cord Maker is just so fun to watch and root for when those kind of win machines like that. One race earlier, it's the Barbara Fritchie Grade 3 event. Again, $250,000 up for grabs for the ladies going 7 furlongs. I pulled up a replay January 23rd, allowance optional claimer up at Aqueduct. It'll be the number 3 Glass Ceiling getting it done for Charlie Baker. New York-based horse is going to ship down to Laurel. Dylan Davis scheduled to go down for the ride. But Kayla coming out of the second in the What a Summer looked a little bit intriguing to me. Steve Asmussen has Regal Retort. Didn't show much in that What a Summer, but I wouldn't be surprised for a rebound there. And Jakarta for Trombetta, I think, is interesting as well. What are your thoughts on the Fritchie?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Definitely, she's kind of be my top pick in here, Jakarta. I think she's the classy speed of the speed in this spot, and she's got a good draw just to the outside, good sharp break to race out in the clear. Your video there, Glass Ceiling, Charlie Baker. I looked up Charlie Baker. He's run one horse here in Maryland in the last 5 years, and that was a horse named Absolutely in 2017. And you know what she did? She won. She won the Primanetta. So he doesn't ship often, but when he does, he's got the bullets to fire. And Glass Ceiling, looking for 3 straight. I mean, she's obviously in good form if he's going to make the ship here. He doesn't often ship into Maryland. She's a 7-5 morning line favorite. Kayla kind of an interesting horse, too. I think she was the beneficiary more of the way the track was playing last out here at Laurel Park, but a good sharp second in that race behind Time Limit. She's very honest mare, and since the claim for Bush Racing at Liberty House, Chrysler's got her in really good form right now, and they're still using their rider from up at Penn, Juan Hernandez aboard on Kayla. The way the track played yesterday, maybe not quite the setup for her as she did last time out, but we'll see. Just maybe pay attention to the first few races. The track's been a little bit quicker. It was a lot quicker yesterday. They've had some chance to work on it, put a little more water on it. It's been a little bit more deeper and tiring the last few weeks here at Laurel Park, but yesterday maybe a little more tighter and more conducive to a speed-type horse.
Interesting. One race before, it's the John Campbell, $100,000 up for grabs, mile and a 16th. I'm looking for a nice day for Mike Trombetta. Torch of Truth. I pulled up allowance optional claimer from down at Laurel back on January 21st. Torch of Truth is going to be the number 3 horse here. 5-1 on the morning line, goes out. I'm assuming the owner, Marie Trombetta, probably Mrs. Mike Trombetta, I'm kind of assuming.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yep.
But I think working on a dream is really intriguing in here. Galerio, a player off the last race, Treasure Trove. What are your thoughts on the Campbell?
These horses kind of been knocking heads against each other, right? Torch of Truth, Gentleman Joe, Galerio, Gentleman Joe. You see them in running lines together. I like Torch of Truth. I also like Galerio. Working on a Dream seems to be the speed from the rail. Again, I think the track worked against Working on a Dream last time out, December 26. You look at the charts, you watch the races. It was all kind of outside swoopers, and he ran lights out. I mean, he prompted the pace the whole way, dug in to finish second there behind Cord Maker. He's run second behind Harper's First Road last summer at Pimlico when he was in good form as well, or in the comeback trail for trainer Claudio Gonzalez. And it's the second day in a row I bumped into Ham Smith going into the racing office to pick up some programs. And, my old saying, see the trainer, bet the trainer. I met him at the very same spot. He was coming out the door. I was going in the door. And he's in on the roll. 3 for 7 in the last 10 days, the Ham Smith barn. Gentleman Joe's got some early speed, too. So Gentleman Joe, is he going to go? Is Working on a Dream going to go? Maybe one of them can sit. I mean, Gentleman Joe's run from off the pace before. He's kind of a sneaker sleeper in there for the Ham Smith barn. Is really, really hot. He won, again, 3 of 7 the last 10 days here at Laurel Park.
And forewarned, I think the 6-1 morning line is too short of a price to lean towards Uriah St. Louis, because he tends to win like he did with this one 2 races back at closer to 42-1.
I tell you what, you got to give Uriah St. Louis all the credit.
Absolutely.
If there's a race, and he thinks he's got a chance, he runs. And people often overlook him, right? 42-1, 2 races back at Parks. The question is, will there be enough pace in here for him this afternoon? It doesn't seem to be, but Uriah, he's going to give it a shot with the Parks shipper. Galario's kind of an interesting horse. I mean, he was claimed for $50,000 out of the Jamie Ness barn. He's run 3 times since, and he's had kind of some bad luck, extremely bad luck, and an excruciating photo finish here on the muddy track 2 races back here at Laurel Park when he was beaten by 007. I mean, it was ultra tight, almost a dead heat, really. And John Salzman, I know, he came up he said, I got to see that photo. I got to see it in person. I don't believe what I saw on TV. So he's been knocking on the door. He's a solid horse, and he's run right against Torch of Truth and Gentleman Joe. He's giving him the run for the money. I don't know. It's a wide-open race, I think, Seth. I'm using the 1, 3, 4, and 6. I know that's half the field, but it's the way it looks to me.
I hear you. There are 3 other stakes on the card, but let's take a look at one of them before we wrap up. I always like to look at the 3-year-olds this time of year, and the Miracle Wood is on the card for the 3-year-olds going a mile, $100,000 up for grabs. And I pulled up another allowance optional claimer. This one at Parks back on January 18th. Number 6, Perfect Day, gets it done. So shipping in from Penn in the career debut win, and then this race at Parks, 2 for 2, both in Pennsylvania. John Service brings this one over. Perfect Day, intriguing to me. But Friar Lawrence on the race 2 back, tossed in some good numbers. A lot of hope, obviously. Had 2 and 3 back, some nice runs. And then Conclusive off the last effort I thought was playable. What are your thoughts on the Miracle Wood?
Yeah, I believe Friar Lawrence is out. 2, 3, and 4. A lot of hope Friar Lawrence Coastal Mission is what I had. I'll double check on that. And you might want to as well. Yeah, Perfect Day. I mean, it's hard to knock a horse who has natural early speed. Seems to be improving. He's second-time Lasix of the Service barn. He's got a speed rider in there with Admiral Adorno stretching out from the 6 furlongs to the 1-turn mile. A couple of weeks ago, I might have said it might have been a tough task, but again, speed a little bit more kind yesterday. Conclusive is going to be my pick in here. I just really have followed this horse ever since the Colonial Downs debut. Thought he needed blinkers. Trombetta put the blinkers on him last time out at a muddy track. He went gate to wire. He was kind of, I thought, a little bit, maybe loafing a little bit. Son of Nyquist, even with the blinkers on, he was waiting for some competition, and he's going from that mile and the 16th on the muddy go back to the 1-turn mile here at Laurel Park. So I think it's going to do him a world of good. I mean, I really am a fan of this horse. I think he's kind of improving a little bit, and so Conclusive, it'll be my top pick there in the Miracle Wood. Speaking of improving, how about Majestic Frontier? Maiden 10, Maiden 16 to a dazzling 16-1 win for the top barn here at Laurel Park, the John Robb barn. They had 4 horses in yesterday. John Robb barn, 3 wins and a second. So anything the Robb barn sends out is worth respect. He did have a good trip, I'll give you that, on February 10th. But the way he did it and the way he won going away and the gallop out was very strong, I thought. So
3 for 4 yesterday. Obviously improved on the 41% from when I printed out the PPs. That is some season he's having.
Yes. Yeah. Some meat indeed, for sure. I mean, he's an improving horse. Rob said the horse kind of actually surprised him last time out with that win, but now's the time to step up. We'll see what he has in the Miracle Wood, though, that 1-turn mile. I tell you what, he's real kind of a trackable kind of horse. His maiden 16 win, there was kind of an odd race. I think there was, if I remember correctly, there were 6 horses in the race, and I think at at each point in the race, there may have been each horse in the race maybe made the lead at some point in the race, and he kicked on to win by 9. So I said, well, he didn't beat anything, but he came back, verified that with an improving number on February 10th.
And you're absolutely right. While you were talking, I pulled up the scratches. There aren't a whole lot of scratches on the card at all, but in the Miracle Wood, the 2, 3, and the 4 are out of the mix, so folks can put that on their PPs. Dave, as always, appreciate the conversation, and again, really nice stakes day down at Laurel, so we wish you and everybody a lot of good luck down there, and we will talk again in the future.
Okay, Seth. Good talking to you again.
Yeah, appreciate it. Dave Rodman from Laurel. Again, really nice stakes day down there. General George, Barbara Fritchie, John Campbell, as I said, the Miracle Wood. There is also the Nellie Morse and the Wide Country. The Wide Country is for the 3-year-old fillies. And again, at this time of year, it's always fun to look at the 3-year-olds of both sexes. So nice stakes day down at Laurel. A little earlier, we concentrated on that fairgrounds card. Again, we thank both Joe Kristufek and Ken McPeek for taking some time yesterday to talk to us about the really, really nice card at the fairgrounds, which we'll look at this afternoon on OTB Live. And I'll be back about an hour or so with OTB Live for a Saturday afternoon. I'll have some Aqueduct and some fairgrounds in my sites, plus much, much more. Hopefully, though, we gave you some good information, some ammunition to put in the holster if you're firing this afternoon at the various venues. Hopefully, we'll all make some nice money and enjoy a great day of racing. Once again, I want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship of this and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB during the championship meet. We appreciate their support. And with the noon post time at Gulfstream, I would imagine we'll probably pick up some of the Gulfstream pregame. They haven't started yet. I'm looking at my monitor up. If you wonder, I'm not just gazing off absent-mindedly. There's my monitor up there, and they're showing 58 minutes to the opener, and looks like they're now going into the anthem. And so I would expect the pregame show at Gulfstream will kick off in a few minutes. So we'll pick up some of that and then move over to NYRA pregame, and then, as I say, a little bit later on, OTB Live for a Saturday afternoon. Should be a lot of fun. Again, hope you appreciated the thoughts this morning and had some fun, got some good info. As always, do appreciate your tuning in. I'm Seth Merrow. This has been Racing Across America. And again, we'll be back in about an hour or so with OTB Live for a Saturday afternoon. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.